here today. We are blessed with some absolutely wonderful electeds who are here to rile us up to get us to, to get us to the point where we are ready to continue this work onward. Right now as we speak, and over the past 2 weeks, there are literally hundreds of these events taking place across the country. The purpose being, bringing attention to the need for the People Act to combat what we have been seeing in state houses across the country, including here in Tallahassee. Not a good thing.
That's right.
So, we are demanding that our 2 senators do the right thing, do what the people are asking them to do. This is a totally nonpartisan issue across Republicans, Independents, and Democrats. They all want this, so it's time for them to act. Yes?
Yes!
Yes?
Yes!
Yes? Yes! That's what I'm talking about. So, we're first going to hear from our electeds. Then, we will come together as a group, and we'll have a hey-ho, the gang's all here picture. And we will likewise call our senators and let them know in mass how we feel about this. All right?
Yes.
Then we will quickly go out onto the street and do some sign waving for about 5-10 minutes so that our photographers can get some nice pictures. We will then likewise do a quick march around the park so that our photographers and videographers get some nice pictures. Then we will come back to this space and discuss the next moves. So that's the deal. Everybody good?
Yes.
Everybody good?
Yes.
All right then. Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of St. Petersburg, Florida, Rick Kriseman.
All right, well, thank you, Mike. It's always hard to follow Mike. He's got just a little bit of energy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Well, first off, I want to thank you all for coming out here. You know, this is, and what we're doing today really represents what St. Petersburg is all about. It's what we've always stood for. We've always stood for a place where everyone is welcome, where diversity matters, where tolerance matters, and where your vote matters, right?
Yes.
That's right. And so we are in a strange time, friends. When you look at what's happening around the country, when people are talking about supposedly being great Americans, making America great and being patriots, taking your vote away doesn't seem to fit being a patriot and a great American, does it?
No.
No, it doesn't. But that's what we see happening, and we're seeing it happening in Tallahassee and in capitals all across the state. And it is an organized effort. Don't fool yourself to think it isn't. There are groups that claim to be nonpartisan, like ALEC, that are taking policies that prevent people from voting, that preempt local governments, and that hurt our communities, to capitals, state capitals in every state around the country. And the only way we stop this from happening is 2 things. And this is what I'm asking you all to do today. Get people registered to vote and get them out to actually vote. Because elections matter. They have consequences.
Yes.
So I have to ask you, are you happy with our legislature?
No.
Are you happy with our governor?
No.
Are you happy with our attorney general?
No.
What are you going to do about it?
Vote.
That's right. One more time.
Vote.
There we go. So, I guess I said 2 things. I'm going to ask for a 3rd thing. And the 3rd thing is we have to reach out to our elected officials in Tallahassee and in Washington. And we have to tell them why they are not doing what is best for our country. They are not moving democracy forward. They are not being patriots. They are not being Americans. And if they're not going to act that way, then doggone it, don't use those words to describe yourself.
Amen.
Because we've got enough hypocrites in this country. And we don't need them representing us in Tallahassee and in Washington. And so I thank you all for being here today. I'm going to thank you in advance because I know that you all are going to do the work that needs to be done to change our state and to continue moving our country in the right direction. So thank you all so much for being here today.
For Kriseman, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it! All right, coming up next. Unfortunately, Congressman Crist was not able to swing by today. He is out of town. However, we have his very capable head dude down at the office, Cary, who has a statement from Charlie that he prepared for us. Cary. Head dude.
All right. I need to change my business card to say head dude. Yes, I'm Congressman Crist, District Director. And sadly, he couldn't be here today. He is up in Tallahassee today. He's attending the funeral of a great state leader, Frederick Humphreys, the longtime president of FAMU, up there paying his respects. But he knows this is an incredibly important event, incredibly important issue. He asked me to be here to read a letter on his behalf. So happy to do that now. To my fellow defenders of democracy, the right to equal and equitable access to the ballot box is the bedrock of a strong and resilient democracy. It's our greatest check against tyranny and corruption, and the only way to ensure the people have the loudest voice in a room filled with corporations, special interests, and foreign governments intent on sabotaging our electoral system. Last week, voting rights suffered a blow when the Supreme Court ruled that an Arizona voting law that restricts voting access for seniors, communities of color, and those living with disabilities does not violate the Voting Rights Act, a historic piece of legislation passed to protect us from exactly these types of attacks. Justice Elena Kagan said it best in her dissent. If a single statute represents the best of America, it is the Voting Rights Act. It was and remains so necessary. It is in response to the dozens of anti-voting laws in state legislatures across the country, including one passed by Tallahassee Republicans and Governor Ron DeSantis, that I support two transformative pieces of legislation that will safeguard the Voting Rights Act for generations to come. The For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act will vote to restore voting protections for all Americans while ending partisan gerrymandering, getting dark money and special interests out of our elections, and protecting our electoral system from bad actors seeking to undermine our democracy. This spring, I was proud to work with Representative Terry Sewell, who represents Selma in Montgomery, to work with our colleagues to prioritize the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act. When voting rights are under attack from the states and from the Supreme Court, we must act, and we must act now. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. These words have inspired every defender of democracy since Dr. King first spoke them in 1968, and they must inspire us now. With the efforts of people like you coming together from every corner of our country, we can end voter suppression once and for all. Thank you, and God bless you, Congressman Charlie Crist.
One more time, hey! All right, keep this thing rolling here. We now have one of my favorite guys on the planet, actually. Commissioner Ken Welch, come on up here and let's get these people riled up.
You are now officially head dude.
All right.
Okay, thank y'all. It is so great to be here. I want to thank y'all, and thank you for having me ahead of Rene Flowers. Nobody wants to go after. Thank you for that. But I want to be serious for a minute. This is one of the most important times ever in our nation. And standing here today, we're standing for the fundamental principle of what America is supposed to be about. And that's about your vote counting. Now, I've served as a county commissioner for a long time, and I've served on the county election board. I've seen the process from the inside out. And I'm here to tell you the truth is our elections are fair, they're transparent, and they're accurate.
Yes. Yes.
That's the truth. President Obama said when he was leaving office, the biggest threat to our nation was the undermining of facts and truth.
Yes.
And that is what's happening right now. And we are the thin line that's making the call to the nation, letting them know we need to stand together for facts and truth. The fact is, the last election was the best election Florida ever had.
Yep.
In the midst of a pandemic. 67 counties got the vote in, got it counted, and we knew who won Florida, unfortunately, that night, right?
Yes.
But the system worked. And then what did we see? We saw the legislature in Florida and across the nation try to change voting access and make it harder to vote. Not because there was fraud, not because there was anything wrong with the way the vote occurred, but they didn't like the outcome. And they decided they were going to overrule what the people said. And that's why we all have to stand together. You know, we had 67 counties, and so 67 election supervisors came together, both parties, and they told the legislature, there's nothing wrong with our system.
Right.
If you want to help us with cyber attacks and those kinds of things, right? But don't make it harder to vote. Don't limit drop-off boxes. Don't limit and make folks have to sign back up for vote by mail ballots. They didn't listen to the experts. And you know, we had some experience last year, Mayor, where folks didn't want us to listen to the experts dealing with the pandemic. That's right. Yeah. These folks continue to be anti-fact and anti-science. They have their own agenda. So let us stand together. Let's get the For the People Act passed, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act passed, and make America stand up to what it's supposed to be. Thank y'all.
Ken Wilkins here again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before I bring Caprice Edmonds up, just real quick, I apologize if I have missed any electeds. If you're an elected, shout out right now. Thank you, Jay. Fire Commissioner up in Wilmot. Thank you, Jay. Any other electeds here? Going once? Going twice? All right. Candidates, starting over on this side. Shout out who you are and what you're running for. Louder.
I'll get his attention.
Beautiful. Next.
Repeat it.
Marcial Powers, I'm running for mayor.
Again.
Marcial Powers.
Thank you, Marcial. And anyone else? Any other candidate here? All right, I know we have a couple of candidates' teams that are here. You have got an absolutely target-rich environment here, candidates. So let's make sure that you're talking to every person here. Is there anyone here who is not willing to help a potential elected who is for voting rights get elected? Shout out if you're not willing to help. Dead silence. So, go get them, candidates. Now, let's continue this soiree with school board member Caprice Edmonds. Caprice.
Well, I'm going to be short and sweet because we all know why we are here today, and that is encouraging people to get out the vote, as well as asking our senators to pass the Voting Act. Yes. So, without further ado, we have work to do, guys. So I need everybody to get ready. Are you guys ready to get to work? Yes. Are you guys ready to get to work? Yes. We have a long haul ahead of us, and it's going to take every single one of you for us to bring it home.
Fired up and ready to go.
Beautiful. One more time, Caprice Edmonds. Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap this shindig, and then we're going to get to work. We're going to wrap this shindig on something that is always intense and high energy. Ladies and gentlemen, Rene Flowers.
Well, first of all, I want to, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Am I doing it right?
Yeah, you are.
All right. So I want to thank all of y'all for coming out, despite even what looks like some rain that's coming our way. But that's the one thing I love about my Democratic family. Nothing stops us when the mission is clear.
Yeah.
And I find it inconceivable that way back in 1944, when black people first got an opportunity to vote, it was difficult for us to vote because we had to get someone to vouch for us in order for us to even go to register to vote. And then we had to give our addresses in order to register to vote. And then we had to pass the test. So we had to count how many marbles were in the jar. We had to be able to recite the preamble to the Constitution. We had to be able to cite the presidents in order when the people who were asking us to do that didn't even know it themselves.
Right.
We had to go through all of that to vote, and it wasn't until 1965 with the signing of the Civil Rights Act then we have an opportunity to be able to vote without any barriers. Shortly thereafter, we saw many people killed simply because they wanted to be able to vote for those people who represented them in Tallahassee so that their voices could be heard. We saw martyrs lining the streets and the graveyards simply because women wanted the right to be able to choose what we did with our own bodies.
Right. Yes.
We saw people like Medgar Evers fighting even then for economic equality, who was gunned down in front of his wife and children simply because he thought everybody should have a fair opportunity to earn a living wage. And then we turned around and we saw Malcolm X, a little controversial, but someone who spoke the truth. And that was that we needed to make sure that our voices were heard. And if they didn't hear our voices, we needed to do whatever we could do to make sure that our voices were heard.
Yes. Yeah.
And so here we are, 2021. And while I'm not counting marbles in the jar, and while I'm not having to recite the preamble, and while I'm not having to list the presidents of the United States of America, I can't even give an old lady a bottle of water in line who wants to vote.
That's right.
I can't give a pack of crackers to somebody who wants to simply drive through and drop their ballot off. On top of all of that, I can't even pick up ballots from the nursing home and the ALFs to take and drop off in a box simply because people are afraid that we have a mind to think for ourselves.
That's right.
Here we are in 2021, where the governor of this state finds the time to travel all around the state, signing all of these bills for all of these little photo op opportunities. Photo op opportunities. When he could make a true opportunity, and he could have vetoed that legislation that was coming to his desk that denies us the right to vote. That's what he could have done.
Yep.
But instead, he chose to attempt to try to suppress the vote. But all he's done is ignited the fire beneath our feet.
That's right.
Here we have a man who was in the hospital over 48 times, an attorney. He not only got beaten up and was put in the hospital, he still marched across the Edmond Bridge despite his hospital ailments to make sure that the message was clear.
Yeah.
The John Lewis Voting Rights Act should pass, and if Manchin doesn't want to come on board with Democrats, he needs to get off the ship.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The filibuster was put in place because they wanted to make sure southern states held down the black vote because they knew what we would do. We need to get rid of the filibuster if that is what it's going to take to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the People Act. We as Democrats cannot be afraid about what's going to happen for the next election. If we poise ourselves right, if we register to vote and we get out to vote, we don't have to worry about them voting our people out. We're going to keep our people in office.
Right.
It's not about what we're doing right now for today. It's about what we're doing for our grandchildren, for our great-grandchildren. I'm afraid for the world that they'll be living in if we don't draw the line and stop them now.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm not asking you, because it is polite to ask. But right now I'm telling you, I won't accept anything less from you than what I'm willing to give myself. It doesn't matter that I'm an elected official and that I could be in jeopardy of being put in jail simply because I'm at a rally where I get to state and utilize my First Amendment right and speak the truth. Right. Sometimes that's what you have to do. My ancestors did it, so it is not beneath my feet to do it as well. We could not have made the measures and the move without your help. We can't make the measures and the move right now without your help. Everybody here, bring 10, 15, 20 people. We need to see Charlie Crist in the governor's office, the one who had no problem with making sure that felons receive their right to vote once they paid their sentence.
That's right.
We need to make sure that Val Demings. We need to make sure that on our local and state elections, and don't think we can't do it, we can. Stop giving up before we even get in the fight. Don't let them tell you that they have Republican surge up county. We have shown in the last election that there were Democrats and independents up county. They've never been touched. We touched them and we changed. We changed the way that the landscape looks. So I'm telling you, we can do it. But we can't do it bickering and fighting with each other. We've got to do it working with each other. That's what I'm here to do. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was told as a woman what she couldn't do, but she showed differently.
Yes.
Dr. Martin Luther King was told what he couldn't do because he was a young black preacher. He made the difference.
Yes.
Medgar Evers showed what he could do. He made the difference. Morris Milton, right here in this town, made the difference. Each and every one of us, we need to make the difference. We need to make sure that we're passing the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Thank you.
How about that? How about that? All right, gang.